Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to my channel Sunrise English Academy. আজকের টপিক হচ্ছে অনার্স ফার্স্ট ইয়ারের ইন্ট্রোডাকশন টু পোয়েট্রি এর সকল বোর্ড কোশ্চেনের পার্ট এ এর ব্রিফ কোশ্চেনের অ্যান্সার। ইন্ট্রোডাকশন টু পোয়েট্রি 2014 সালে পার্ট এ ব্রিফ কোশ্চেনের অ্যান্সারগুলো হচ্ছে 1. Why does Shelley can the west wind a preserver? Answer. Shelley regards the west wind a preserver because it preserves the seeds by driving them underground till they germinate and fills the hills and plains with different colored flowers. 2. Whom does Thakur address as my father? Answer. Thakur addresses God as my father. 3. Who are the riders of the carriage in because I could not stop for death? Answer. They are riders of the carriage are death, the poet herself and immortality. 4. Name of the wife of whom burial? Answer. Amy. 5. What is Shambhu's Gate? Answer. Shambhu's Gate is a place where public execution is done. It is also a place where animals are celebrated. 6. Who is Penelope? Answer. Penelope is the wife of Ulysses. 7. How is a pike? Answer. A pike is a small animal of violent nature. 8. What is an epitaph? Answer. Epitaph is an inscription on a tomb. 9. Name the places connected by the river in crossing the Brooklyn Ferry. Answer. Manhattan and Brooklyn. 10. How does Keats define autumn? Answer. Keats defines autumn as a season of bounty. 11. What type of beauty does Yeats pray for his daughter? Answer. Yeats wants that his daughter should not be excessively beautiful and she should have courtesy and self-gratification. 12. Define metaphor. Answer. Metaphor is an indirect comparison between two unlike things. 2015 সালের 1 নম্বর প্রশ্ন হচ্ছে What is the subtitle of Shakespeare's Sonnet 18? Answer. Shall I compare thee a summer's day? 2. Name the figure of speech used in the line 10,000 saw I at a glance. Answer. Hyperbole. 3. What is Fern Hill? Answer. It was the name of the farm of the poets Ants and Jones. 4. Whom does Gray compare the dead villagers with? Answer. Gray compares the dead villagers with Milton, Hampden and Cromwell. 5. Define oxymoron with an example. Answer. Oxymoron is a figure of speech in which two opposite ideas are joined to create an effect. The common oxymoron phrase is a combination of an adjective preceded with contrasting meaning: easy, cruel, kindness, or living death. 6. Thus I entered and thus I go. Who is the speaker? Answer. The patriot is the speaker of the sentence. 7. What is the message of the poem Two Daffodils? Answer. The message of the poem is that human life is short and transient. 8. What is the rhyme scheme of the sonnet on his blindness? Answer. A B B A. A B B A C D E C D E. 9. Where was Walt Whitman born? Answer. Walt Whitman was born on May 31, 1819 in West Hills, New York. 10. Who was Aeschylus? Answer. Aeschylus is the great hero in the Trojan War. He killed Hector. 11. What is the theme of the poem Home Burial? Answer. Lack of communication is the theme of the poem Home Burial. 12. Who was Maud Gonne? Answer. She is an Irish revolutionary and the beloved of Yeats. 2016 সালের 1. What does Shakespeare mean by eye of heaven? Answer. By the eye of heaven, Shakespeare means the sun. 2. What is the tone of the poem Two Daffodils? Answer. The tone of the poem is melancholic and sad. 3. I will drink life to the less. What figure of speech is used here? Answer. Metaphor is used as life is compared to wine in a bottle. 4. What is Shambles Gate? Answer. The Shambles Gate is a place where public execution is done. It is also a place where animals are celebrated. 5. To which literary age does E.B. Browning belongs? Answer. E.B. Browning belongs to the Victorian age. 6. What type of poem is Because I Could Not Stop for Death? Answer. Because I Could Not Stop for Death is a lyric poem on the theme of death. 7. What does Yeats mean by intellectual hatred? Answer. By intellectual hatred, it means the worst kind of hatred. 8. What is the color of the pike? Answer. The pike are of deep green and golden color. 9. What kind of freedom does Tagore want for his country? Answer. Tagore wants for his country a haven of freedom that flourishes in an ideal state. 10. What is onomatopoeia? Answer. Onomatopoeia is a figure of speech in which the sound of words reflect their sense. 11. What is the theme of the poem Home Burial? Answer. Lack of communication is the theme of the poem Home Burial. 12. What is an ode? Answer. An ode is a rhymed lyric dignified in style, often in the form of an address. 2017 সাল 1. Who serves God best according to Milton? Answer. The man who discharges his responsibilities sincerely serves God best. 2. Why does D.S. Lawrence heart weep to remember the old Sunday evenings at home? Answer. His heart weeps to remember the old Sunday evenings at home for the loss of happiness and glory of childhood. 3. How did the poet Kaiser Hawk pass his days? After his sister's death, the poet passed his days at school as if he were under a steady miniature of crucifixion while he went through his lesson and exercise. 4. What did white man do when he lived in Brooklyn? Answer. When he lived in Brooklyn, he worked as an editor, journalist, and waiter. 5. Who are the riders of the carriage in Because I Could Not Stop for Death? Answer. The riders of the carriage are death of the poet herself and immortality. 6. The path of glory lead but to the grave. What figure of speech here used here? Answer. It is an example of an epigram in which we find the use of a word and its exactly opposite form in the same sentence for the purpose of raising an apparent contradiction. 7. What is the bliss of solitude according to Wordsworth? Answer. When the poet is in loneliness, the beautiful scene of the daffodils appears before his mind's eye. The poet calls it the bliss of solution. 8. Where are autumn and the sun called close bosom friends? Answer. Autumn and the sun are called close bosom friends because they cooperate with each other to bring about the ripeness of the fruits. 9. How does E.P. Browning convey the idea of the immortality of her love? Answer. He conveys the ideas of the immortality of her love by the asserting that he would loved her husband better after death. 10. What does the phrase good morrow mean? Answer. The phrase good morrow means good morning. 11. What is the subtitle of Shakespeare's Sonnet 18? Answer. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? 12. What is an allusion? Answer. Allusion is a figure of speech that refers to some notable character, memorable event, legend, writing or saying of the past. 2018 সালের 1. What is the Greek name of Ulysses? Answer. Ulysses was the king of Ithaca in Greek mythology. The Greek name of Ulysses is Odysseus. 2. What does the word curfew mean? Answer. A curfew generally means an official restriction of people's movement after a specific time. In this poem, the curfew means the bell rang at church after the sunset. 3. Which book of Tagore is the poem where the mind is without fear taken from? Answer. The poem is taken from the English version of Tagore's celebrated work Ques.ans, which was published in 1909 and won the Nobel Prize for Literature in the year 1913. 4. What does Herrick mean by short spring? Answer. By short spring means the short duration of the spring of human beings. 5. What is a dramatic monology? Answer. Dramatic monology is a kind of poem in which a single character reveals a dramatic situation. 6. What does Shelley mean by the line, if winter comes, can spring be far behind? Answer. It means the spring symbolizing character comes closely in the work of winter when nature is all dead. It means after bad days come good days. 7. What does Dylan Thomas glorify in Farm Hill? Answer. Dylan Thomas glorifies childhood in Farm Hill. 8. What was the name of Yeats' daughter? Answer. Annie. 9. What is the cause of conflict between husband and wife in the poem Home Burial? Answer. The difference of attitude towards the death of their child is the causes of conflict between husband and wife. 10. Killers from the egg. What do you understand by this line? Answer. Here it is meant that the pike have the destructive instinct in them from the very time the motherfish lays its eggs. 11. How did the speaker's sisters in the poem Learning Grief die? Answer. In the poem Learning Grief, the speaker's sister died from winter pneumonia. 12. Some mute inglorious Milton here may rest identify the figure of speech. Answer. This is an example of synocodes because for individual classes is indicated as Milton represents a class of famous talented poets. 2019. 1. What is meant by the eternal lines in the poem Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day? Answer. The eternal lines referred to the lines of this sonnet. 2. How do the daffodils look like? Answer. Daffodils are bright and fragrant flowers. 3. What does the expression though breath of autumn's wings mean? Answer. Here, though is the west wind which is described as the omnipresent spirit of autumn. 4. What does W.B. Yeats pray for his daughter? Answer. The poet wants that his daughter should not be excessively beautiful and he should have courtesy and self-gratification. 5. How does the poem Ulysses end? Answer. The poem Ulysses ends with the famous exhortation of Ulysses of his comrades to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. 6. What does ferry symbolize in the poem Crossing Brooklyn Ferry? Answer. The ferry symbolizes a journey of a man across life. 7. With what does Herrick compare human life? Answer. Herrick compares human life with daffodils. 8. What is a rhetoric question? Answer. It is a figure of speech in which a question is raised but the answer to it is implied in its very form. 9. What is an ode? Answer. An ode is a rhymed lyric dignified in style, often in the form of an address. 10. The path of glory leads but to grave. What is meant here? Answer. Here it is meant that it does not matter if we are rich or poor. We all will die. No one is able to escape death. 11. What is the hemisphere? Answer. A hemisphere is one of the halves of the earth, especially the half above or below the equator. 12. Why shall God repay the patriot? Answer. God shall repay the patriot as people have not recognized his services in his life. It is a good reason that he will be rewarded by God in heaven. We shall. 1. What is the rhyme scheme of a Shakespearean sonnet? Answer. A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. 2. What is metaphysical conceit? Answer. The metaphysical conceit characteristic of Donne and his followers is a comparison often complex, starting, and highly intellectual and dissimilar. 3. How is autumn personification in the poem To Autumn? Answer. In the poem, autumn is personification as a winnower, as a reaper, as a gleaner, and as a cedar pressure. How was the patriot received by his countrymen? Answer. The citizens of his country decorated the path with roses and myrtles to welcome him. 5. What is the name of the wife in the poem Home Burial? Answer. Amy. 7. What does Ted Hughes mean by the phrase killer from the eggs? Answer. Here it is meant that the pike have the destructive instinct in them from the very time the mother fish lays its eggs. 8. What does Dylan Thomas mean by lighting house? Answer. Lighting house is a melodious house full of merry and sweet sounds. 9. What are the twofold functions of the west wind? Answer. The twofold functions of the west wind are destroyer and preserver. 10. Who is Telemachus? Answer. Telemachus is the son of Ulysses and Penelope. 11. What is irony? Answer. It is a figure of speech in which the very opposite of what is said is intended. 12. What does Gray mean by the inevitable? Answer. The meaning of the inevitable hour is the time of death which cannot be ignored by anyone.